to that media briefing where our former Johannesburg Mayor remains in hospital.
Where he received maximum medical expert treatment, support and care around the clock for injuries he sustained. He sadly did not respond positively to treatment, and with heavy hearts and deep sorrow, we confirm we lost our beloved Mpho this afternoon, and his passing has deeply pained us. Let me add that he was certified dead at 1754. Mpho was a well-known activist, full of life, determined and committed to work for his community. The family would like to acknowledge the continued outpouring messages of support by the public and formations. We appeal that at this moment his family be afforded the time and space to reflect and reconcile on overcoming this tragedy. We will endeavor to inform the public on all due arrangements. The family will liaise with all relevant structures accordingly, and we urge everyone to keep them in their prayers. Mr. Moerane is succeeded by his wife, File, 4 kids, his mother, and siblings. May his spirit prevail on us to overcome such difficult period of our time. Farewell, Comrade Mpho. I thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. That's the sad news we're communicating today, for now, that he finally succumbed to the injuries sustained during the accident. I'm not sure if there are any questions at this stage. Please keep them to a minimum, as you would appreciate that not much has been done. This happened less than 30 minutes ago. So we're still going through the emotion of internalizing what has happened. Any questions?
I'm familiar from the start. Just to find out, was his family by his bedside when this happened? I'm sure it's just happened a short while ago.
Any other question? We'll take 3 questions. Sankelo?
Condolences, gentlemen. Just on the preparation going towards his final destination, what will then transpire going towards the entire process from the family experiencing violence, visiting to the family by the government leaders of the party, and also a political program in order to honor the lifetime of the family
Can you respond to the question? I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay. Okay. His family has been by the bedside since day one, since he's been in hospital until the final minute, and they're still with him as we speak. There will be an announcement of the program as to what's going to happen, and the funeral details, how messages of condolences can be delivered, and any other relevant matter will be communicated in due course.
Just one of the questions in terms of everyone is medical procedures or intention as you mentioned that he was in hospital for some time. Can you just get a breakdown, if possible, of how he was responding to certain treatments and how his condition was throughout this period? Essentially, if it was the family's decision to recuse himself, just give us better and
Throughout our communication, we have continuously stated that he's in a critical condition. We have continuously stated that he's in a critical condition, and that the doctors did the best that they could he succumbed to his injuries. And yeah.
Any other question? Samgelo?
Just a cousin to my name, from a family perspective, what has transpired in the past few days, the speculation that has been made. Your message as a family to those whom they have speculated and said the wrong things in the past 2 days. How would you respond to them now and plead to them not to repeat such things as it causes trauma to those who are receiving the end of such news?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Mpho was killed many times before being certified dead by those qualified to do so. And I do not know, neither will I understand why people continued spreading rumors despite us giving them an assurance that Mpho was still alive. It beats me. I do not understand and will never, ever understand. Like I said, it traumatized the family, and it was a very sad and unfortunate happening. I do not wish it upon any other person, and I hope the abuse of social media stops, because you hurt people. You cannot post and repost unverified information. Before posting, stop and ask yourself, is it worth being posted? Has it been verified? Could it be hurtful to somebody else? And unfortunately, those that posted did not stop and ask themselves those questions.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Perhaps while we do have the platform, if we can just remind some of those that would be watching, just in terms of the life of Mpho Moerane, just the background yake, but also just from the African National Congress. Maybe it's a bit premature to be asking this from the region, but in terms of if this might change some of their plans around their preparations for what we know has been lingering for quite some time, that is the conference. Are there any decisions at this stage that have been made?
Well, at this stage, because this is called by the family that is not involved in party political planning of any events, it would be quite difficult for them to respond to that question. We are expecting that the ANC will release its own statement, and perhaps that will afford you an opportunity to raise some of the party-related issues that must be dealt with by the organization. At this stage, we want to limit this briefing to the demise and the view of the family.
Perhaps just tell us about Mpho Moerane. He's now remembered as the former mayor of the city of Johannesburg, but I'm sure there's a lot that can be said about the caliber of the leader he was in Johannesburg.
Yeah. We will obviously be writing, what do you call it? An obituary. Safe to say, he can't be defined by the mayoral position. He obviously had to be an activist, and I need to add that a committed activist, in order for him to rise and be recommended for such a position. We will write a detailed obituary, but he has a long history of involvement with the community. But he was also a philanthropist, I must add. In fact, today, it is not only the Moerane family that has lost. Many families will go to bed without food. Many kids might not be able to continue with their schooling, because he went out of his way to help. That is over and above his political and community activism. But like I indicated, we will need a bit of time. Let's just give ourselves time to write a proper obituary. I think it will be an injustice to try and quickly summarize his political activism.
Let's thank you. What we'll do, the family will continue engaging yourselves in terms of preparations that will be undertaken in preparing for his send-off. We will be updating you on a daily basis on what has been planned, what is going to happen, and you will appreciate that at this stage nothing has been planned yet, but we will in due course do that. Samgelo, want to end this?
So, just on a personal note to Mr. Maide and all involved on the podium, especially with regards to the sitting Attorney General of the ANC, all of you who are together in Alexandra, spending days in sport politics together, for you, what does the life of Mpho Moerane signify? And what would you like those who come after him to take from his life of times, particularly from political, social, and business and corporate methods?
Go ahead.
Samgelo has a way of the question that I said will be answered in detail when we do the obituary. But I see Samgelo is trying to get that question back through the back door. But I've already said that over and above being an activist, he was a selfless person who would at any given time go out of his way to help. And if the youth could learn that from him, I think it will be a very good lesson. He dedicated his time to serving the community. I mean, I'll give just one example, Samuel. During the political uprisings in Alex, Mpho's family was displaced, but because he was working, he managed to buy a house for his mother. Despite having a house, he was chairperson of the Alexandra Displaces Committee. Today we have what is called River Park, because Mpho led those struggles, despite having a house himself, despite not being destitute, but then he led those struggles. And that is the kind of selfless person that he was. He could have just said, I'm comfortable, I have a house. Let those who live in community halls continue living. But no, those were his neighbors, those were his friends, those were his parents. And he continued their struggle until River Park was built. He was chairperson of that committee. So he was a very selfless person. And he led many other community programs. And like I said, when we write the obituary, it will be extensive. I don't think we'll do justice now to, in the next minute or two, try and tell about his life. But he was also a very, very loyal person. I've been friends with him for 33 years. And he was an extremely loyal person.
Thank you. I think that covers what I wanted to convey. But as I said, we'll continue updating you as we go forward. Thank you for your time, your patience, and your availability. Thank you.
This is just incredibly, tragically sad news. Former Johannesburg Mayor Mpho Moerane, he had a car accident last week, and it had just been confirmed that just before 6 o'clock this evening, he succumbed to his injuries after being in hospital for over a week. He had remained critical all this time, but there were, of course, hopes that he would come back to consciousness and eventually overcome his injuries. Very, very tragic news indeed. Mpho Moerane no longer with us, and a very difficult time for his family, his wife and children, and our thoughts are with them at this point. It's just utterly awful to have to go through something so desperately tragic like that, and it is a very sad time indeed, and a very sad time for his comrades in the ANC. And if you look back just at the mayors that we've had in the city of Johannesburg in the last year alone, you'll remember that Jeff Makubo, he died of COVID-19 last year, and that was in July. He died in July. Jolidi Matongo took over from him as Johannesburg Mayor. He died in a car accident on the 18th of September. And then Mpho Moerane took over as Johannesburg Mayor after that. Of course, he served just a short time because it was in the run-up to the local government elections, and ultimately the mayorship is now held by the Democratic Alliance's Mpho Moerane. At the time of his death, Mpho Moerane was the ANC caucus leader in Johannesburg, playing a very pivotal role for the ANC in politics in the region, the greater Johannesburg region. And it's just incredibly tragic news indeed that Mpho Moerane has died, succumbed to his injuries from a car accident. He was driving himself, this is about a week ago, and he had an accident. What we understand is that he was swerving to avoid something in the road. He's being described as a selfless man. So very tragic news tonight. Stay with us.